Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit, and we're coming to you with our Thursday pregame show.
Yeah, I mean, we've decided that we kind of like doing the pre-game stuff a bit better. It feels like we get all the news then and we can just put it all out straight there.
Yeah, and it's great because we get to do it the day of the games. We get to still give you the picks. We still get to go over the reviews of what
Mhm.
happened. So, yeah, it's a good time. Like today, we're going to review last week and give you our picks for tonight and Sunday.
Yeah, so these are going to be our new slots. So if you're bored of watching the same pre-game stuff, then you can come watch our stuff before Thursday night games and before Sunday daytime games, or just at the end of the London games at the minute. And that's probably where we should start, right? London last week.
Yeah, Um, a win's a win, and I'm very happy with a win. And I know a wounded dog always comes out fighting, but like, man, that was too close for me. I did not like it. I did not like the way the defense played at times. The offense, I see where they're going. They're like Johnny Munt missed a wide open pass. Where if you're Thielen, if you're Cousins, that's the right pass because he's the closest. You know what I mean? It's a first down, but he could have went to Thielen right over the top of him. So I think Johnny Munt may have shot himself in the foot for some more passes when another guy is open.
Yeah, and I feel it's the same kind of thing that we've had with the Vikings since the start of this season, where the Vikings aren't operating on full capacity. It feels like that we know that they're better than this. They've shown that they're better than this. If you understand what I mean, they they're not clicking on all cylinders, but they're still winning. So a win's a win, and you're not playing your best football. Hopefully, you guys will get it together more down the stretch and go on a hot streak. But
You got
if you're
one
going to keep
more
on winning
game.
while you're not playing the best game.
They got one more game to get their shit together against the Bears because then it's the Dolphins.
Mm. Yeah, but I mean, the way that Green Bay's looking, it doesn't look like you're going to have the highest win total that you guys have ever had to win the division. I'm not going to be too I'm not going to be too worried if they win this week and then lose to the Dolphins. The thing is, it's
I will.
they just need to start to get it kind of together sometime soon. It feels like it's going to have to start clicking. But
And
if
it's
you're
not
still
the
winning
offense
while you're not playing your best ball,
it's not the offense that bothers me because they're just going to keep getting better and better as they learn the scheme. It's the defense leaving the middle of the field wide open. What the fuck are our
hmm
linebackers doing? That was where the problem's been the last couple games is the linebackers are one or two steps out of place all the time. And I know it's a new system, but Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks have been known, like they're praised for being football intelligent guys. We can't let that happen. And I love him, but Daniil Hunter has to get home more.
yeah, I mean, I was expecting your defensive line to be more after that first game
It's DJ
of the
Morgan and,
season.
and Big Z who's getting all the pressure.
Yeah, they really need to start fixing the outside rush. That you can see it in a lot of teams. So I was listening to the PFF podcast, and they rank it as something like there's only 5 or 6 teams that don't have left tackle issues at the moment, just because of how many left tackles have got injured, and on top of that, offensive lineman players and what it used to be, and that kind of thing. But so many left tackles are out of the league. Like everybody's edge rush should be getting home right now. It's something that everybody should be doing, and I just the Vikings need to build on that more, which will mean that they just have to cover the outsides of the field, not the middle of the field as much. And it's just they need to get their offense clicking. Once their offense gets clicking, everything will start falling into place for those guys.
And since you brought up PFF, I have to point something out. They have Nick Bosa as the 23rd best defensive end in the fucking league. And I'd like somebody to show me 22 better DNs than Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I want to know which 22 teams would rather have somebody over Nick Bosa.
I just had to point that out. I usually love PFF, but that was a crazy thing to me.
I do love their ratings and the way they do it different. So I do the way that other outlets do it is based on feeling, based on that, like, what do they call it? The eye test that Skip Bayless calls it, that bullshit. like, fine, that's one way to do it. But PFF will at least be able to back up their reasoning for him being 22nd. What they'll say on their end is he's the 22nd best right now. We're not saying 22 teams would rather take him ahead of it. So I think that's something that a lot of the talking heads who question PFF don't seem to understand a lot of the time. So I do feel like they'll be able to back it up. But sometimes you've just got to say, hang on, I don't give a shit what the stat says or what our scoring says. We know that Nick Bosa is better than most of the defensive ends in the league.
All right, well, let's stay in the NFC North and let's talk some Lions, Seahawks, where defense was absolutely fucking optional.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely defense is optional. On the Detroit side, I feel like Detroit do have that good an offense to do that kind of thing. But which kind of means that Seattle defense is better than the Detroit defense. But Detroit and Seattle have so many crazy weapons. I think we just forgot that over the offseason, how many crazy weapons they have, like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. They're some of the best players in the league. I mean, DK Metcalf got carted off, but don't worry, guys. It's nothing serious. He was just going to shit himself, but that's it.
That PFF had another crazy stat about the Lions. They are the slowest they are the slowest team in the NFL by far and for years. I don't remember
Wow.
if it was like since like 98 or something. It was something crazy. But they are the slowest team in the NFL. And if you really look at good defenses, they move sideline to sideline and swarm. So that could be part of their problem.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you're lacking speed in the NFL, then you're really lacking a crucial part of everything. I mean, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are a really quick defensive team. Like you can see that teams like the Arizona Cardinals, their scheme doesn't seem right and they don't seem to defend well, but the speed is frightening. So you know they can defend well. They just need to get things put together. I imagine that the Cardinals have to be the fastest, don't they?
Well,
I'm
that's
thinking of their defense. It's got to be.
if you think about it, the only reason the Vikings haven't lost games is because of the speed with
Mhm.
some of the secondary players and a couple linebackers because they've caught dudes that I thought, oh shit, this is a touchdown. So we're lucky we had some speed, or our defense would be even worse. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, speed makes up for a lot of shitty decision making. Like if your decision making is garbage, and
I think
you know there are kids in college who are much better brains, much better defensive players than the guys they're going up against to get that starting job in college. But those guys in college can run a 4.2, and right, well, that's it then.
well, Darius Butler said this week, speed beats scheme.
Speed beats scheme. Speed seems to beat brain sometimes in the NFL, but
Sometimes it's better
it's
to
not
be
all the
lucky.
time. So,
Oh, I was
yeah,
just gonna say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
yeah, that's my dad's favorite saying. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I feel like it's a real cricket thing that like honestly, you see cricket players who are absolutely trash, but like they're just the luckiest people alive, so they're going to score more runs than everyone else. But
All
yeah, the
right,
speed makes a
man.
big difference. I mean, like surely Glenn's got to be worrying about his job because it does look like they have something there in Detroit, and it's the defense that's letting them down. So Aaron Glenn's gone from being this guy who could be one of the new defensive coordinators, one of the best guys going in the league, and then he's now got to be on the hot seat for his job, surely.
Well, I couple more losses and that team and Dan Campbell's antics I think are going to start become annoying instead of he's an energetic guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think if they don't start winning, I think he starts to get on more of his team's nerves too.
I don't know. They're putting up so many points and looking so fun, and the crowds behind them. I feel like maybe Dan Campbell's side of the ball seems right. He's running good, so
The
maybe
thing
maybe
is
not.
I don't care how well our offense is playing. If we're going to the locker room losing every game, it's not a good place to be.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, what's surprising me is Aiden Hutchinson looked like he was going to be unbelievable after that first game and having a great preseason. That first game, I think his second game was pretty good as well. And I think teams have realized, like, look, this guy is not some sort of freak. Like, He's not this athletic freak. He's got to be with his brain. So let's just double team him, just get him out the way, and he won't be able to barge through us. Not like if you double team Micah Parsons is fast enough to just beat two guys. If you double team Aaron Donald's going to cause shit in the defense. But then, with that said, they also have other amazing defensive players as well. So if you double team Joey Bosa for the Chargers, then Khalil Mack's going to be there to make the play. And the Lions don't have that. The Lions have Aiden Hutchinson, who's got the brains of a great player, but he's not an athletic freak. That was the thing on him coming out of the draft, and why Trayvon Walker went number one.
Yeah, I like Aiden Hutchinson. I think he'll be, as I said this since the draft, a solid player for 10 years, but I don't think he's ever going to be a Pro Bowler. You know what I mean?
Well, they need a guy. Yeah, they need a guy on the other side. Like, he's not going to destroy. He's not going to fuck up the other team's game enough by himself.
All right. Quickly off topic, and I'm catching you off guard, but it just hit me. Did you see the whole JJ Watt thing?
Oh, where he had a heart attack or something, and then
his heart went out of rhythm, or his heart stopped, and then was out of rhythm from AFib. Got it put back in, and then played again, and people were all at him. But I was like, if your doctor says you're not at any higher risk of anything else happening, where 60% of the world, I guess, ends up with some sort of AFib at one point in their life, like, I don't understand why people are so pissed off that he played.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the light of the tour incident, I guess it makes a bit more of a difference, doesn't it? Like, I think the NFL, I think the crowds at the moment. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's 100% different. But I just think the crowds at the moment, they don't trust the NFL doctors. If you've seen the memes going around where it's like pumpkins splattered on the pavement, and NFL doctor, and like the NFL doctor says, oh, he can definitely still go in and play coach. He'll be fine. Like, I feel like there's a lack of trust there. And as always, there's a lack of knowledge about what medical stuff there is. There's a lack of actually wanting to listen to experts from a lot of people a lot of the time. If the medical expert says it's fine, I'm sure he was fine. Those AFib, that happens to everyone. Everybody ends up with that.
31 years old when it happened to me.
Yeah, what is it? Just your heart just skips a beat, just goes out of rhythm.
For me, my heart was really out of rhythm. It was a real weird rhythm. Like, it wasn't it was like get it. Like, it was going from a steady beat to jazz. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's and they gave me medication, kept me overnight. So most people, they give them the medication within seconds, it goes back. That didn't work for me, so they gave me a different med. Next day, my heart was in rhythm, but if it wasn't, what they were going to do was zap me.
Yeah, just until they got back.
Yeah, they hit you one or two times, and then your heart goes back. But I haven't. That's 13 years ago, and never had an issue again.
Yeah, it's not as serious. Like, it is serious, but it's
if it repeatedly happens, then you need a pacemaker and stuff. But if you're just one of the 90% who it happens to one time, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, so I'm not too bothered about JJ going in. We know that JJ Watt's an absolute fucking psychopath. Like, I'm sure even if his doctor said don't go in, he'd go in anyway. Just get out the guy's way, just let him play. That's fine. It's different with concussions, because with concussions, you always say you want to play. Like, you don't really, like, even if you feel like you're woozy, like, it's your fighter's instinct to try and get in there and try and want to play. And there needs to be, like, with concussions, it's a bit different. With AFib and going to the doctor, making sure you're okay and stuff like that, then, like, that's fine.
And it was JJ's own doctor who told him he was healthy. You know what I mean? It wasn't some NFL doctor. But I digressed. We'll get back on track. Let's move on to the team that pulled my Nostradamus card, the Jags versus the Eagles. For a minute there, I thought I was going to look fucking brilliant last week. Both of my upsets were looking good, and then they both just took a shit on me.
I was bouncing around the room shouting, Jay, you fucking knew it, man. I'm backing you. Come on, Jay, you're so fucking right. I was bouncing around the room, having a great time, and then the Eagles proved that they're actually really fucking good this year. Like,
did both teams not prove that they're better than most people gave them credit for coming into the year?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence looked awful, but I'm willing to chalk a lot of that up to the weather because the weather was just horrible.
Right, I just mean, like, are you not impressed with the Jags this year compared to where you
Yeah,
thought they would
definitely,
be? Yeah, and
definitely. I mean, but the Eagles look great. Like the Eagles
Jalen
look
is
really, really good.
balling. Jalen is
Yeah,
balling.
yeah, which is terrifying. Like absolutely heart wrenching and terrifying. But we'll see what happens. Uh, I mean, if you give if you give Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts' legs and that run game in those conditions, um, then it would have been a different game. I'm willing to chalk up Trevor's bad performance down to the weather, but yeah, the Eagles are great. So the Eagles were behind for the first time this year, behind by a big margin for the first time this year, and you would have thought that would have screwed with their game plan. You would have thought that would have gone, oh crap, this game plan's meant for front running. Now we've got to throw the ball. No, they just did exactly the same thing. They just didn't get away from their game plan at all. They went, hang on, we don't think that we can beat the Jags by more than 14 points over the next 3 quarters. Well, then we've schemed this up all wrong.
Well, that running game up the middle was all due to Jalen Hurts' legs to the outside
Yeah,
because they were doing everything they could to to end to make sure Jalen couldn't like take off, and it left holes for Miles Sanders to drive a Cadillac through.
yeah, they were just setting the edge. Of Miles Sanders doesn't need a Cadillac-sized gap either, does he? He can really fit through some small spaces. Miles Sanders. That running game is terrifying. I mean, the Jags receivers could have given Trevor Lawrence a bit more help. Like Christian Kirk dropped a couple of passes, but yeah, I'm still like the Eagles look really really good, and I'm upset about it. But yeah, they
So
look great.
did you see how the story of Nick Sirianni on how he helped get Kelsey back?
No, I haven't. Is
He
that
had
on the Kelsey brothers' new podcast?
Yeah, he had kegs of beer delivered to Kelsey's house.
Right. Yeah, I mean he's a big player in that Eagle. I feel like he's come back. I think he smelt a Super Bowl. I think he's looked at that team and is smelling a Super Bowl. Um, Kelsey's a big part of
The
why that
Kelsey
offensive
Bowl?
line is so driving through. Hmm?
The Kelsey Bowl?
The Kelsey Bowl. I mean, you wouldn't put it past either of them the way that either of those teams have looked. They're definitely the most efficient on offense, both of those teams, and their defenses look good too.
So
Actually,
Patrick,
yeah, Kelsey Bowl.
we'll get to it, but Patrick Mahomes played out of his fucking mind. But like, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Let's talk some Bills Ravens quick though before we get to that.
yeah. I mean, John Harbaugh. Every Harbaugh stick saying that he's cost them the game by not kicking the field goal, and I mean, it probably shows that he doesn't trust his defense. But is it he doesn't trust his defense, or is just Josh Allen that special driving down the field? They were like, well, Josh Allen's probably going to be able to, because they could have scored a touchdown there. They could have scored a touchdown with a minute 40 to go, but they decided to sit at the 1 yard line, take the knee, and take the field goal and just get out of there with the win. Like the Bills could have scored that touchdown, but they
If
played the
you
sense
kick
of the
that
game.
field goal, they have to score that touchdown.
Yeah, but they would have scored that touchdown. That's the point. I think.
Which is giving Lamar a chance to get back on the field. By not kicking that field goal,
Mhm.
Lamar never gets a chance. I think it was the worst call ever. You take the points, you get up, you put the pressure on that offense. Either they make a mistake or they score leaving over a minute left for Lamar to get the ball to try to come down and win that game. And that's what happens in live internet sometimes, guys. So my argument is worst call by John Harbaugh, who usually makes good calls because he tied their hands and made it so that the Bills could sit on the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, guys, my
No,
mic.
that's all right. I was just eating time.
Yeah, my mic just went down. Yeah, basically, I think I just don't think that call's the reason that they lost the game. I understand why it's maybe not the best call he's ever made in his entire life. I just don't. think that's the reason they lost the game. I think the Ravens have some bigger issues rather than blaming that on John Harbaugh. I mean, the Bills' defense is playing all right. It's got a lot of injuries, and they couldn't put it to bed. But then they also were able to stop Josh Allen to less than those points too. I think it also showed some Bills inadequacies that game. Like the Bills still don't have that much of a running game. I mean, Devin Singletary did put up some yardage, but they're using Josh Allen as their primary running back, and that's going to end up in real issues for them down the line. I think the Ravens still need some weaponry. Like they still need some weapons to actually throw to. That would really help them out in some of those tight spots that they're getting into. But yeah, I do get where people are coming from with the reason that John Harbaugh didn't take it. But like,
I 100% disagree with you.
Aggressive.
I 100% disagree. Like I said, Lamar's got 1:40 to go fucking score. He's the leading rusher in the NFL. He's got one of the biggest arms in the NFL. His tight ends play like they're NBA players and box out. And where is Lamar the most dangerous? In the 2-minute. I think that call absolutely cost them any chance of winning that game. And if I'm a gambler, I say 60 or more % of the time Lamar comes back and wins that game.
Do you not think, though, maybe the Bills go, right, they're not going to give him that touchdown with a $140. They're going to say, right, we know that we've got...
Singletary runs that right in the end zone.
Yeah.
He sat down at like the 2-yard line.
He sat down at the 2-yard line. And then did you see Josh Allen does a quarterback sneak?
Right, but that play never happens if they're down by 3.
Trying to pull him over.
But if they're down by 3, that play never happens. You're down by 3 and you can score, you score.
Yeah. You're probably right.
I get what you're saying, and they had a lot of chances to win that game in regular, but I think that call fucking hurt them so bad. And I said when you didn't have your mic, so I don't know if you heard me, it's very rare that John Harbaugh makes the wrong decision, but I really think he did.
Yeah, and it's just when this game actually showed that it's, again, the Bills were behind. The Bills probably shouldn't have won that game. What's going on? Where's that Bills team that was just so incredibly efficient beforehand? And I mean, injuries have set them back a little bit, but the injuries aren't really on the offensive side of the ball.
No, it's their safeties are depleted. Their
entire defense is depleted, and the defense.
It doesn't help that their big ass nose tackle, horrible Harry, ain't there again this year either.
Yeah, that would have definitely helped them quite a lot. But I mean, their defense looks fine. Their defense is doing all right. They're getting pressure with 4 men still. Gregory Rousseau looks good, and he's a freak on the ball.
Well, with Leslie Frazier, if you don't get pressure with 4, you're in trouble because he plays a lot of Tampa 2 zone coverage. So they're built for that, and it's good that they do that because that's when their defense would break down, is if you can stop that 4-person rush. But people haven't been able to do it yet. They can keep 6 guys in, and they're still getting home.
Yeah, it's what everybody sets out to do. It's what every defensive coach wants. If you can get pressure with 4 people, like no matter what scheme you throw, if you can get pressure with 4 people, then you're in good shape. But Josh Allen needs to stop playing hero ball. They need to find a way for Josh Allen to not be playing hero ball the entire time. They've had 4 years to get a run game together in Buffalo, and they just don't have one. It's surreal.
Did you notice that offensive line seems to pass block way better than it run blocks?
Which is insane.
It's the reverse of what you always see.
Nobody does that. They just need to sort out some sort of run game. It's impossible in the same sense that it's impossible for Justin Herbert to carry the Chargers every single week, and he's got hurt. It's impossible for him to do that without a run game. As soon as they get the run game going, they look great. Well,
here's to Sean McDermott. If you need a running back, call us. We got this dude, Alexander Madison, Deuce 9. Go give him a call. We'll trade him off since we're going to lose him after this year anyway. Call us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think the running back's necessarily the problem, but yeah.
I'm trying to pick up draft picks.
I think Madison's better than Devin Singletary, definitely. I think Singletary's a solid back if you've got some linemen that can block, whereas Madison can kind of make a play out of nothing, which is what they need. But in the same way, they have bigger issues than just.
I agree, but I'm trying to get this like before trade deadline thing in here. All right, man. Let's move on to the Chiefs Buccaneers, where Patrick Mahomes played out of his mind.
Unbelievable. This is exactly what we were saying at the start of the year when we first watched that system game. When we watched the first game and we said about the system and we said, holy shit, Patrick Mahomes operating a system might be even more dangerous than when they're just playing that magic ball. Because what can happen now is they can rely on the system, march down the field, play some amazing football. Andy Reid's dialing it up. Like, it looks amazing. But then as soon as that goes to shit, you've still got Patrick Mahomes who can just like, what was that? Like a fling out chest pass over the top. That was beautiful. That was like watching some really, really, really champagne rugby. It was amazing. So you have him in that system, and then you have Patrick Mahomes just making magic on the outside. It's incredible.
Do you know who he looked like doing that shovel pass? He looked like Brett Favre.
Everybody makes the Brett Favre thing.
No, but I mean, he literally, the way he did it, like, just reminded me of like Brett Favre on the field. Like, I'm like, man, he just looked like you could have put Brett Favre in that play and it would have fit. You know what I mean? Like, that was some young Brett Favre type shit, which Patrick Mahomes is probably, well, I know he's more talented, but those dudes can do things that other quarterbacks couldn't because of their arm strength and their confidence in themselves. Those might be the two most confident quarterbacks I've ever watched. Because I don't think there's a throw that Patrick Mahomes or Brett Favre doesn't believe they could make.
Yeah, it's like Brett Favre shoveling away the debt concerns, like shoveling away the tax.
You know what? I completely forgot about. Hey, I'm waiting to see if he gets charged because everything I understand is it had some shady public servants involved. So I'm waiting to see how much Brett really knew because he's really getting beat on right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it's probably people are messing around with Brett Favre's money. Let's be real.
Well, this is what happened. So this is absolutely what happened. So there's some welfare fund that the states have complete discretion over that they don't have to give out or they don't have to prove what they're using it for.
Yeah.
It's supposed to go towards families who need food and housing and shit like that. 90% of people who applied for that got denied. Brett Favre was trying to raise money to get his alma mater, which was his kids' alma mater's girls volleyball team, a new arena. That money got funneled from the welfare fund to the arena.
Right.
We know the politicians are guilty. What we don't know yet is how much Brett Favre knew about where that money was coming from.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to do a good thing, but
maybe he knew it all. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know yet. And I like making fun of people too, so he's going to get it until.
He's like a mob wife, like don't ask me about my bit. They get all annoyed about the business and where it comes from.
Like the Godfather, don't ever ask me about my business.
That's what those politicians were saying to Brett Favre. Like, he knew that money was coming from somewhere dodgy, but he just didn't want to know how dodgy it was. And now it's coming
that could be 100% true. That's right there. All right, Maddie, let's talk some Rams 49ers, the game.
Hang on, I just wanted to ask you a quick question about like Brady, and do we think that Brady's divorce is impacting him on the field? Do we think he's in a bit of trouble? Do we think it's just wide receiver issues? What do we think?
How much do we believe?
31 points.
I don't know how much we believe in reports from friends of, right? Mm-hmm. But a friend of Giselle says her getting an attorney is her way of telling Tom she needs a grand gesture.
Yeah.
It's less about a divorce than about, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just know when Tom said I'm 45 and going through some shit. And I think that was
some marital shit.
Yeah. I think it could have went one or two ways where Brady's going to come in, zoned in, fuck it, it's my refuge. But man, that's your life. That's your kids. That's your wife. That's everything. So I think it's got to be fucking with his head some, right? And I always say I don't worry about Brady till week 6. but I'm a little worried about Brady now.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how worried I am about Brady. To be honest, he put up 31 points on a Kansas City defense that looks like decent with no wide receivers. It's the first time he's missed an off season, so he hasn't been able to get together with his wide receivers. The reason he missed his off season is because of marital issues, where his wife has asked him. It's clear his wife wants him to retire and spend more time with his kids, and then he's gone home. He's come back and played football. That's gonna be fucking with his mind a little bit. I don't believe they're breaking up. I don't think it's that deep. I think he wouldn't have. I don't think he would have came back to football if he knew that his family was going to be torn apart, because they've been together through thick and thin. He's clearly a family man, but I just, that's got to be, it's one little thing that he doesn't need whilst they're trying to put this team together with no wide receivers.
What he's got going for him is he's the best team in a really shitty division.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is his offense is elite, apart from when Patrick Mahomes doesn't go fucking insane. So the one time they score 31 points, they come against Patrick Mahomes, who's playing some absolutely unbelievable ball. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, and that's where Brady really makes his money. So I'm not too worried about him. I just thought it's an interesting dynamic to keep a hold of. George Karlaftis is also playing absolutely out of his mind.
I'm just thinking, as somebody who's been married for over 20 years, that I don't know if I'd be able to function if I was going through that. So that's,
Yeah, it's like, is he turning up to work as early as he normally does? It's not like, and we know that Tom Brady's like the most professional football player, like going, like we know that about him. Is he turning up to the training facility at his normal time of 2 hours before everybody else? Like, is he doing that? Or is he lying in bed in the morning thinking a little bit harder? Is he fully watching the film, or has he got other stuff on his mind? It's not he's going to implode because he's a professional. It's not, that's not what's happening. It's just he's not operating at his 100% optimum.
Life is distracting sometimes. You know what I mean? And your mind wanders at times, and I'm sure watching film is probably the easiest time to let your mind wander. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the 49ers making us look like fucking morons? The only thing I got going for me in the whole thing is when I said, if Debo scores 2 touchdowns, the 49ers will win. That's the only thing I got going for me.
Well, the Rams aren't as good as everybody thinks. Their offensive line is garbage. Like, that's what I got from it. Their offensive line is terrible. And when Matt Stafford is an unbelievable quarterback. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. When Matt Stafford is pressured, he throws interceptions. Like, we know that about him. He threw the most interceptions in the league last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So I'm not too worried about him taking the risk under pressure. The only issue is they're not getting the touchdowns to go with that. And when he's under pressure, he seems to only throw to Cooper Kupp. And at the minute, he's always under pressure. Plus, their defensive line can't get to anyone. That it just doesn't look good. Aaron Donald is the only person on their defensive line that can get to anyone, and he's double teamed the entire time. So, like, what's happening? What they should have done is, instead of giving that money to Allen Robinson, is kept that money and gave it to Von Miller, and then paid OBJ his $8 million or whatever he needs.
I'm already hearing, oh, Jimmy G's back. 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. Can we pump the brakes on that already? Like, I'm just saying, I know they have a great scheme. I know they have a great defense, and I know they have playmakers. I still don't believe Jimmy G's the guy who can throw a team on his back when we watched him win a playoff game with 8 completions.
Yeah. I don't. Does the thing is, this 49ers team don't need Jimmy G to throw them on their back. They don't need
in the playoffs, though. You're gonna have to outscore the Packers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whoever else is firing on all cylinders at that time. You know what I mean? And
the 49ers are going to struggle when they come up against a team like the Eagles, who can also control the clock and also keep you off the field and do all the stuff that you want to do to you. And they're doing it better. And they've got a decent defense. The 49ers are going to struggle there. And they're the team that they're going to hit like a buzzsaw. It's going to be really difficult. For the 49ers, they look decent. Like, I think it was more the Rams that just looked shoddy. Like, the Rams just didn't look good. And on top of that, there was a play with Jalen Ramsey where Deebo Samuels is bearing down on him. And I know Deebo Samuels is a massive guy, and you don't want Deebo Samuels running into you. But Jalen Ramsey pussies out of a tackle. He goes over and takes the block, and he goes over and he takes the block, the blocker took a terrible angle on him. He could have missed that block and made the tackle on Deebo Samuels, but it looks like he takes the block and then tries to leap for Deebo Samuels, but only when he's behind him because he doesn't want to make the tackle. And when your lead cornerback is doing that kind of stuff, I just go back and watch the film and you'll see it. I can't remember the exact play it was, but when Deebo Samuels is running down on you and your number one cornerback pussies out of it, it just feels like they're a team that feel like they gave everything to last year. And I know people talk about the Super Bowl hangover, but it's not normally 4 games long. They gave everything to last year, and this year and beyond is a worry for the Rams, especially when they don't have any draft capital. They don't really have any cap space to play with to replenish these spots. I'd be worried about the Rams for the next few years if they continue to play like this.
All right, before we move on to this week's games, I got to bring up your Cowboys. I want to talk about your Cowboys, but less about we can talk the game, but my conversation is less about the game. And the TV's number one Cowboys fan in Skip Bayless is pushing for Cooper Rush.
He's an idiot. Like, Skip Bayless is dumb. Like, that's it. Basically, Shannon Sharp came in and said, look, I've got too much respect for myself to fight for Cooper Rush. And our entire thing is about arguing. So you have to fight for Cooper Rush because I'm going to fight for Dak because I'm a Hall of Famer and I have too much respect.
So what do you say about Kurt Warner saying that Cooper Rush is running the offense better than Dak? There's less mistakes. The ball's moving better.
We haven't seen Dak run this offense apart from against the Bucs where no one played well. We haven't seen Dak.
He went back to a Thursday night game last year. Dak's been off since then.
Yeah, was Ezekiel Elliott running this hard last year? Was Tony Pollard allowed to run as many plays last year? Was Mike McCarthy managing the clock at all last year? No. Let's love
the argument. I fucking love it. Love this argument.
It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. I get where they're coming from because Cooper Rush is a game manager. We should be blowing the Commanders out. The Commanders are a terrible football team. The Giants are a woeful football team. The Giants are the worst 3-1 football team I have ever seen.
I do love the argument where Cowboy fans, and I've seen this online, will trade Dak, and then we can use that money to re-sign Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. And I'm like, well, okay, your salary cap's going to go up, and you'll figure out how to get both of them signed. But I love it. Even Cowboy fans are imploding right now.
Yeah, this is what happens every year. It happens every single year. They hate Dak Prescott. It's like Dak Prescott has done nothing but play I
thought I was the only person who hated Dak Prescott.
It makes no sense. Even if you're not a person that thinks that Dak Prescott isn't a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, which I want
you guys to keep playing Cooper Rush. Just do it.
So Cooper Rush is playing this week. And
he's going to play the next 2 or 3 weeks, wouldn't you think? I think they're really overplaying Dak's coming back because they were saying this week he can't even really squeeze the football.
Yeah. I mean, he's not playing this week, which is fine. That's okay because we're not going to be the Rams on.
It's offense. A bad game to bring him back anyway.
Yeah, we just need to beat the Rams on with the defense. We just need to. The way that we're going to beat the Rams is by keeping on getting to Matt Stafford and turning the ball over. So that's fine. I'm worried about the Eagles. Is our defense able to stop the Eagles? Probably not. So our offense is going to have to take over. Look, Cooper Rush did not play well on Sunday. Let's just get out of there. Go look at Cooper Rush's stat line. He played like shit.
I fucking love this argument. I can't help it. Like, I'm with you. I agree with you 100%.
It's
But
ridiculous.
as somebody on the outside looking in, this is so funny to me.
It's just, I put it in a group. I put it in a Cowboys group. I was like, look, Cooper Rush has done a great job. Very thankful to Cooper Rush. I'm not complaining about Cooper Rush. We're winning football games. Our defense looks amazing. We should be blowing out these teams. These games shouldn't have even been close. The Giants are awful. Nobody thought the Giants would. But seriously, how many games did you think the Giants were going to win this year? 5, 6?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And that still might happen. Like, the NFL have done a great job of saying, right, all the shitty teams are going to play each other at the start, and all the good teams are going to play each other at the start. Like, that's what's happened. If you look at the Giants' strength of schedule, it's dire. Like, it's really bad. And the Commanders, like, who knows what's going on with them. Cooper Rush is doing a good job. But CD seems to be taken off. I do worry that might be a connection thing between Dak and CD. The reason that that's not happening, that'll be the only one thing where that gives validity to Kurt Warner's argument. But apart from that, it's all bullshit.
I know you're not going to like this comment, but for the sake of my entertainment, I hope Dak's first game back, he just plays like trash because the Cowboy fans are going to lose their fucking mind and be like, see, put Cooper Rush back in.
The thing is, if he does play like trash, he'll have the similar stat lines as Cooper Rush.
Yeah, but the fans won't care. They're expecting Cooper Rush can play here. He's the savior. Dak has to play here or they want him out.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's Dak's paycheck. Dak's paycheck is coming back to bite him in the ass. But the thing is with that, the paycheck actually doesn't look like that bad of a deal anymore.
Everybody remembers $70 million for 1 year. That's what everybody remembers.
Yeah, everybody remembers $70 million for 1 year. Now it's what, 35, like 40 for the rest of the whole contract. And
I agree with you.
The salary cap is going up. We have the youngest team in the NFL. We have the second most cap space in the entire league. Like, what is there to complain about with Dak Prescott? I just don't. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Like, if there was a better quarterback out there that we could go get, fine, go get him. Don't change him for fucking Cooper Rush. There's a reason that we could drop him and him still be able to be a Dallas Cowboy. It's ridiculous. Thank you very much, Cooper Rush. You're doing an amazing job. Keep it up. I'm still cheering for you on the sidelines every time you take the field.
Oh, it's not anti-Cooper Rush at all. It's just this conversation to me is hilarious.
It's ridiculous. Like, I love Cooper Rush as well. I love our quarterback room. Our quarterback room now looks like one of the most well-balanced in the NFL. It looks great. The only issue is, it's also people being like, people are now shitting on Dak Prescott for being in the locker room with his teammates, being on the sidelines. Did you see the pictures with him with his shirt off after the game? And people are commenting underneath like, why have you got your shirt off after the game? Why have you been in the showers? You didn't even play. What are you doing? You're lazy. Get out of Dallas and stuff like that. And it's like, you don't shower at the end of the fucking day? Like, you don't shower when you come back from work, you gross asshole. Like, he's probably sat there calling the plays and telling Cooper Rush a lot of what to do. Like, come on. Also, Trayvon Diggs balled out, and we can expect games like that from him.
All right. I had to bring that up, though, because this conversation all week has just been making me laugh. And I'm like, Maddie's got to be pulling his fucking hair out listening to these guys.
I've stopped listening. Like, I normally listen to Skip Bayless to see what the nuttier Cowboys fans think, but this is just I don't believe that he believes what he's saying. I just don't think that he believes.
I don't think Skip believes half the shit he's saying. There's no way you can shit on LeBron that much and believe it.
Yeah, it's like you can't just sit on the desk and beat the drum for Dak Prescott all for the past like 4 years, and then all of a sudden Cooper Rush is bad. Like, it makes no sense to me.
I can't take anybody seriously who says Aaron Rodgers is overrated and LeBron is overrated. I can't take either.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's so he can argue with Shannon, and Shannon commands more respect. So Shannon's allowed to use his opinion, and then Skip has to argue with that no matter what it is.
All right, so there's 2 games that are going to be played before we come back on Sunday. Let's start with the London game, though. We'll just end with tonight's game with the show. dude, okay, the Packers, I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game, but I'm not 100% convinced after watching a third string quarterback put 100 yards on them and look pretty good in a game he wasn't even fucking ready to play and was the third string and was like, oh shit, coach, I'm going in, you know. And the Packers, Aaron Rodgers is missing throws that are un-Aaron Rodgers like.
Yeah, so he's missing throws that are on Aaron Rodgers like, but how much is that the receiver's gone the wrong way?
He's overthrowing some of them though, like on routes, and that's so on Aaron Rodgers. It's like Brady and Rodgers have both had me go, what the fuck this year a couple times.
Yeah, it shows how much a QB needs to trust his wide receivers is what I think, because Brady's
had the training camp, and you know I defend Rodgers, but maybe you should have showed up.
Should have shown up this year. Normally, I'm like, there's no need for your elite players to show up to training camp. That's fine, but this year you've got to show up. Like this was the 1 year where going and doing a shit ton of IASCO in the Amazon wasn't a smart idea. Like fine, do that the rest of the summer. Do whatever the fuck you want, but just for those few weeks of training camp, just show up.
Right.
Just show up. Like it would have made so much more sense. Tom Brady had other shit going on, so he's exempt from that. Tom Brady's issues is injuries to the wide receivers that he trusts. So that's not really a fair comparison. But it's
I just meant that they both have made throws this year that are so unlike them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Bailey Zappi. Do you remember when he came out, what was he, a 4th round pick?
I think it was 4th round, yeah.
And he went ahead of some guys where you were thinking, oh shit, we were talking about them the entire time. And nobody thought Bailey Zappi. And then all of a sudden Bill Belichick comes out and starts talking like he's Michael Stiddy, you know? Like he's Stiddy all over again. And it's like, no, man, like Zappi's not it. Zappi's not it. Zappi looked decent. He looked like a good Mac Jones backup, you know? He's better than Brian Hoyer already.
I don't know, man. I think that there's a chance this kid, and we don't know yet, but I'm not sold that he's just a backup after watching a third string quarterback come in his rookie year and the poise. I mean, he had some shit, but poise, made some throws. And what I always say is you cannot teach accuracy. And this kid is pretty fucking accurate. So I'm not saying he'll take Mac Jones's job, but I could see this kid in the future being somebody's starting quarterback. Maybe. But I'm not just ready to relegate him to a backup.
Yeah, I mean, a Jimmy Garoppolo kind of start to his career would make a lot of sense, though, wouldn't it? Like playing in New England as a backup and then getting that starter job later on. That looks like the kind of thing he'd be able to do. He looked decent, nothing mind blowing apart from the fact he's a 3rd string quarterback and took that shit to overtime. Like pretty impressive.
That was my point. Like I just was impressed with the 3rd string kid who was a 4th round rookie who comes into a team that's all fucked up right now and did pretty well. It was impressive to me.
Is he playing this week?
I would think so, right? Like Mac Jones was in fucking real pain leaving the field.
Yeah, Mac Jones must be out and Brian Hoyer is definitely out. But Bailey Zappi is now the 2nd string quarterback over Brian Hoyer. There's no point of playing Hoyer over Zappi.
Mac Jones was limited in practice today.
So it's Bailey Zappi then, isn't it? There's no point.
And Hoyer's out for sure.
Yeah. Well, the Zappi's the 2nd string now anyway. It would make so much more sense to do that. The reason that I worry for the Green Bay Packers is in this game in London is because they knew that how much the Patriots were going to run the ball. Like the Patriots were running that ball no matter what. Like Zappi had a decent game, but he didn't like throw it all over the park. But they couldn't stop the run. And the one thing that you have to do against the Giants is stop the run. If you can stop the run, their team is dreadful. It's fine, whatever. But they have Saquon Barkley who went for another 149 yards at the weekend or something like that. Like Saquon Barkley's back. He looks great. Daniel Jones can run that fucking ball better than a lot of people in the NFL give him credit for. The Giants could be dangerous this week. I just think Aaron Rodgers gets that shit together and they win the game. Also, the Green Bay Packers run game is real, by the way. The Green Bay Packers run game is really fucking good. So it doesn't have to be down to the wide receivers. Just control the clock and get out of London with a win.
So I'm going to bring up something that Ethan Schultz brought up, that there is a rumor that 4 owners headed by Gail Benson of the Saints are thinking about suing the NBA or the NFL over overseas games.
It baffles me.
Well, from what he was saying is it all started because, first of all, Gail Benson thinks they got robbed because she thinks that was a PI on Thielen and not on the Saints, which cost them the game in London, and
the same refs would have been
it took away a home game from them and that kind of stuff. So I guess there's a couple other owners that feel that way. My guess is, now they have not released it, my guess is one of them is Mark Murphy of the Green Bay Packers. And the reason I'm saying that is because there was a lot of articles that if this had been a Packer, like with the Packers going overseas, and every time you take a team overseas, it will not hurt any home team more than it will hurt Green Bay because of the local businesses. Because we're 100,000 people, and more than 100,000 people come into our city and spend money every NFL Packer game.
Yeah, that makes total sense. There are some teams that it hurts more than others. That's fine. Like Jacksonville going out and playing in London, they probably make more money coming to London than they make if they're playing in Jacksonville.
I hate getting up at 9:30 or 8:30 in the morning, but the Wolves seem to love it. They're asking for a fucking game every year, which I want to punch them in their throat.
But I just think with you guys, it makes a lot of sense because
to you.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot. Well, obviously, it makes a lot of sense for me. I get to sit and watch football from 1:30 in the afternoon till 4 a.m. It's amazing. But for the Vikings, right? There are so many. I think the Vikings might be the best supported team in the UK because the Vikings, they've raided the coast of England. York, where I'm living right now, is a Viking settlement in England and stuff like that. I think it's a team that suits London quite well. And you guys seem to get more support than anybody else. Like, I could see why the Saints would be pissed off because their home game gets turned into what really is an extra home game for the Vikings. The way that I looked at it, just you're not, and I understand it's not in your full stadium, not everybody's a Vikings fan, but the Vikings fans are louder at London games than the teams that they're playing most of the time, unless they play the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe the Cowboys as well. Like they've got a huge UK. The Giants, you'll see a lot of Giants fans out here this week as well.
See, I'm also worried about that hangover going into this week.
Yeah, I get that. But you get the same time difference.
There's going to be that if it does get a lawsuit, it's going to be a competitive, balanced lawsuit.
Yeah, definitely. I understand. I just think, like, when you look at the merch, like, when you take...
I don't think they'll ever win. I just thought it was something we should talk about.
Yeah, I just think the spread of the game, like, if you love the NFL, surely it must make you happy to see other countries taking it up. And
I hate the Vikings going overseas. I fucking wish they would never go overseas again, and I still think we should keep the overseas games.
Yeah, I understand why it's sucky for your team, but in the same, if you love the NFL, you've got to love seeing the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium full of all the different jerseys, all the NFL teams supporting.
I gotta ask you if you know this. Nobody in the U.S. has an answer to this, and this was a big question going around last week. So maybe you'll know, maybe you won't, but it's about Tottenham Stadium. Why is it that the fucking soccer field is real grass, but the fucking football field is fucking AstroTurf?
Because when they put real grass, because when they play on real grass in Wembley, everybody kept on complaining about the turf getting torn up all the time. Like the NFL teams were on the line of scrimmage saying that the turf's getting teared up. The grass that you need to play American football on and the grass that you need to play soccer on are two very different types of grass.
So why didn't you put real grass underneath the real grass?
You should have put a rugby pitch. What they really should have done is put a rugby pitch underneath. if they put a rugby pitch underneath, because that's very similar dimensions, and we only play that game on grass, on the same type of grass that the NFL would use.
Okay, there you go.
Like you would put a rugby pitch underneath. That's what would make the most sense.
These turf injuries are fucking nasty, and I think all NFL teams should be forced within like the next 10 years to go to grass.
Yeah, I think it was just like the amount of complaints about the Wembley pitch that then made them say, right, well, then we'll just go to turf then. Cool. Like, if that's what you want, we'll just go to turf.
Yeah, and it's not just them. I think every team should have to at some point go to grass, because these non-contact injuries on turf are fucking nasty.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a lawsuit between a Premier League team, and so when they play in the Champions League, they go play other European teams, and a lot of the European leagues, especially in Eastern Europe, use turf pitches because of the weather out there. And Premier League teams have gone over and refused to play. They've said, I'm not playing on that. Our teams are going to get injured. We're not playing. Go find another stadium with a real grass pitch and we'll go out there. And they've been told by UEFA, you play or you forfeit the game. So then they've played, but then played none of their premium players and stuff like that. And I think I agree.
Would you send more of a message if you just forfeited?
Yeah, but then when you go into the group stage, when you go into the knockout stages of the Champions League, you make a shit ton of money. So that would be a bit weird.
Okay.
Like the Champions League is like the competition in Europe.
So let's move on to tonight's game, because you had the Packers, correct?
Yeah, but only just.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be close because of running games, everything being equal. They're all traveling overseas. And I know the Packers have only went over today, and they're going to some fucking soccer game this weekend and doing something else. I don't know. Maybe they'll party themselves out and I'll get a Packer loss this weekend. That would make me smile.
Yeah, I just want to say that Lazard and Randall Cobb actually look like a weirdly good wide receiver tandem. Tony Romo said that. Randall Cobb looks 10 years younger running some of those routes.
It helps when you got a quarterback you trust throwing you the ball.
Definitely. I'm also surprised he hasn't thrown more to Robert Tonyan. I just want to throw that out there.
Wasn't he a Texan before coming to Green Bay?
Cobb?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he didn't have nobody throwing him the ball at all.
He was a Cowboy before that. He looked great in Dallas, by the way. I just want to put that out there. He looked quality in Dallas.
So for tonight's game, I got the Broncos because everybody who's worth the shit on the Colts is injured.
Yeah, I've got the Broncos because Russell Wilson had the best game of his Broncos career so far. It looked like he kind of just went, fuck it, to Nathaniel Hackett's idea of how to play football. And they lost. And 9 times out of 10, that they win from that position if Russell Wilson's playing that good a game. Russell Wilson played better than Derek Carr last week. And the Denver Broncos defense lost it for them. Well, I'm not worried about the Broncos defense against this Colts offense. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
So I think the Broncos are going to win a decent margin.
Yeah, and everybody, like I said, like your top defensive players out, your like MVP type running backs out. I'm still not convinced that Michael Pittman is a number 1. I feel like he's a 1B.
He's an awesome number 2. Terry McLaurin.
I think he's just on the verge, and maybe he just needs another year or 2 to learn how to get off that press, double coverage, that kind of stuff. I just feel like there's times where another guy in that offense, then they get open. You know what I mean?
Also number 2. Alec Pierce is an unbelievable number 3 in the making. They just need a number 1. And their defensive line looks terrible. Their offensive line, looks awful. I don't really know what's going on. That's meant to be one of the best offensive lines in the league. And Matt Ryan's on his arse a crazy amount of times. Matt Ryan's
face mask got caved in to where he broke his nose last week, so he's not playing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice. I just don't give the Colts any chance whatsoever.
Well, what bad luck do the Colts have this year if your best defensive player has another guy come in like this and it crushes your face and helmet? Like, what are the odds?
Yeah. They've just not got it. They've not got it together. And I think people are sat there saying, like, oh, you should have kept Carson Wentz. And it's like, no. Carson Wentz would not have fixed this problem. Like, Carson Wentz would have made the problem go away for 30 minutes and then exacerbated the problem for the rest of the games.
And I'm not saying Carson Wentz is a bad guy at all. That is not what I'm saying. But we've all heard his little diva shit that's happened in his career. If you're going to play bad, who would you rather have in your locker room, Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz?
Yeah, and I mean, Matt Ryan's a top quality quarterback. Matt Ryan's a top quality quarterback. It's just like he's not a quarterback that you want to see getting knocked on his ass.
Right. I'm just saying, if you're going to lose games, who would you rather have in that locker room? Because they can argue you could have lost with Carson Wentz, or you can lose with what you're losing now, right, with Matty Ice. But I'd rather have a guy like Matty Ice, who it's not going to like get him down. He's going to keep his spirits up. He's going to be the good teammate who keeps his teammates' spirits up. Where I don't know this for a fact, obviously, but from things I've watched in the past, I've heard that Carson Wentz is the guy who will get down, point the finger in the locker room. You know, I'd rather have a guy like Matt Ryan, because you're not in the toughest division right now either. You can still turn this thing around.
Yeah, what's wrong with Jonathan Taylor as well? That's what I want to know. Where's
he?
He's
out injured tonight with an ankle.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'll do it. Yeah, I mean, I knew he was banged. I knew he was banged up. I knew he's been banged up for the past few weeks, but it hasn't looked right. They're not creating those running lanes for him at all. I worry for the Colts, to be honest. I could see this division going Titans, Jags, Colts.
The number one offensive line went to shit in an offseason.
Yeah, it looks like the entire offensive line was built on Quentin Nelson. And because Quentin Nelson isn't playing as well as he normally does, then the whole offensive line is shit. That's what looks like has happened.
So weird.
Which is weird with an O-line.
Like, I even give the Rams a pass on their own line because they're on practice squad guys. Like, they have so many injuries. They've been pulling squad guys up. So you're like, okay, with the Rams, I understand the offensive line problems. You look at the Colts and you're like, you're pretty much the same offensive line. And now you fucking are nowhere near playing the same. It's so weird.
It is weird. It's weird for an offensive line to fall apart. Definitely. A quick side note before we head off. Bet of the week, people. The Dallas Cowboys are a 4-point dog to the Rams. That blows my mind with the way that the Rams offensive line is compared to the Cowboys defensive line. It blows my fucking mind.
Well, I'll leave everybody with this. If Justin Fields does not have a good game against our defense the way it's been playing, it's time for the Bears to look for a new quarterback.
Definitely. Justin Fields, just run the ball. Just fucking don't even try and throw it. Just run and just see what happens for a while.
A crazy stat that I'll leave everybody with to dog Justin Fields one more time. Cooper Kupp has 42 receptions in 4 games. Justin Fields has 34 completions in 4 games.
Yeah, I saw this stat where it was, I think on 46 dropbacks, Justin Fields has 9 completions.
And I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with the shitty team around him, because some of it is that, but I know rookie contract quarterbacks really don't have the room to do this, but I'd almost go to the Bears and be like, trade me fucking now.
Yeah, I would like to see Justin Fields on another team. I'd like to see Justin Fields on the Giants or Justin Fields. Like, if Jalen Hurts wasn't at the Eagles, I would love to see Justin Fields at the Eagles.
How about even the Commanders or the Colts, or like, let's see how they play with a good team. I know those teams probably don't want it, but for a fan, I want to see them with.
I don't know why the Colts wouldn't want it. I don't know why the Colts wouldn't want it. All the Commanders. The Commanders have got Carson Wentz. He's not the future. Like, I suppose Carson Wentz has been playing better than Justin Fields. And we all know if you sit Carson Wentz, he'll moan and complain and get traded out of there. So if you take Justin Fields, you're losing Carson Wentz. The Colts know that Matt Ryan isn't their future. They know that. Like, everybody knows that. Matt Ryan's probably got about 3 years left at most. probably a year and a half with the way that the Colts offensive line is playing right now, Justin Fields would kind of go in there and give them something different. It would be interesting to see. Justin Fields has the ability to make special plays. It's just a shame he can't do the easy stuff right.
Just a thought, because I remembered this and I had to look it up and make sure it's true. Maybe the Colts should give Big Dick Nick a try.
Yeah.
He's on their bench. He did miracles for the Eagles. I'm just saying.
Yep, that makes sense. We get call up Mitch Trubisky. Call up the Steelers.
Speaking of that, now you can never go back to Mitch unless Pickett gets hurt, correct? Like, no matter how bad he plays, you have to play him the whole year from here on out.
Yeah, it was a brave call. And Kenny Pickett looked all right. He threw 3 interceptions on his debut, and none of them were his fault. It's amazing.
He still looked better than Mitch Trubisky'd been looking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think somebody said it on commentary where they said that it was almost like when Baker Mayfield came in. Like, it's a shame he didn't get the win. I mean, Zach Wilson kind of pulled that out of the bag, played a good game. He was shit for 3 quarters, and then the 4th quarter, he was unbelievable. Kenny Pickett looked good. Most pro-ready QB out of that class. It's about time that one of the rookies from that class gets a game.
And rumor has it, Baker Mayfield's one bad play away from sitting the bench for Sam Darnold.
Is Sam Darnold not still on IR?
I don't know. I was hearing today that they were talking that Baker's one bad play away from being benched. I assumed it was Sam Darnold coming in.
None of the fucking shit in Carolina is on Baker Mayfield. That's insane.
Sam Darnold returns from MR.
Does he? Right, okay. Right.
Oh, wait, I lied. From a return from MR, not close.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So who'd they draft? That's who would go in for Baker.
Matt Corral's still on IR.
Oh.
Whoever said that's a fucking idiot.
What the fuck do you bench him for then if there's a rumor that you could bench Baker?
Who else have they got? Is Teddy Bridgewater? No, Teddy Bridgewater's in Miami, isn't he?
Yeah, so who knows? But I heard he was one bad play away from maybe getting benched, so we'll see.
Who's the Panthers' backup quarterback at the minute?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, Matt Corral fucked his shoulder. He's not ready to play in the NFL.
PJ Walker.
Well, that's stupid. Is PJ Walker that guy that they took from the... PJ Walker actually looked all right last year. He's the guy from the XFL, right?
Yeah, and for some reason, I think he played for Matt Rule at Baylor.
Yeah, he did. And he played a lights-out game for them last year. Like last year, Sam Darnold got injured, and he played a really, really good game. He is not Baker Mayfield. There's a reason he didn't beat out Sam Darnold. Like, he played that amazing game and he didn't beat out Sam Darnold. I like PJ Walker, actually. Now that I think of him playing, he's a very exciting player. It's great to see players from the XFL making it to the NFL. I really like it. I really like the guy that we've got at Dallas, so that I've just totally forgot his name. It's not Tolbert. It's the same deal. But anyway, I really enjoy seeing guys from the XFL making it to the NFL. It shows that there's a system in place for those guys to make it. But PJ Walker is not Baker Mayfield. That's ridiculous.
Well, there you have it, everybody. We'll leave it with that. And we'll let you know that very soon, we're coming up very soon, the World Cup. Are you guys excited? Very soon, the World Cup. Christian Pulisic, Team USA, bringing it home. We believe we can win. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio, coming out.